The auction hall reeked of desperation and greed. Kyle Bennett stood among the crowd of smugglers and traffickers, his stomach churning as the auctioneer paraded enslaved beings across the platform. He shouldn't be here. This black market station existed in the lawless void between territories where morality went to die. But Kyle had heard rumors, and sometimes the only way to save lives was to play the villain's game. 3 alien women were dragged onto the stage, their wrists bound in energy cuffs that crackled with restraint fields. They were humanoid but distinctly alien, with iridescent skin that shifted between silver and deep violet, and eyes that glowed faintly in the dim light. Restrained collars circled their necks, blinking red to suppress any resistance. They looked terrified, malnourished, beaten down by captivity. The auctioneer's voice boomed across the hall. Exotic laborers from the outer reaches, obedient, trainable, perfect for any operation requiring discretion. Kyle's jaw tightened. He knew what that meant. His hand moved to his credit chip before his brain caught up. The bidding started low. Kyle waited, watching the predators around him size up their prey. When the price plateaued, he raised his hand and called out a number that silenced the room. The auctioneer grinned, declared him the winner, and the transaction completed in seconds. Kyle led the 3 women to a ship docked at the station's underbelly. They followed silently, heads down, expecting the worst. Once aboard the Wanderer, Kyle sealed the airlock and turned to face them. They flinched. He raised his hand slowly. "I'm not going to hurt you. I bought you to set you free." Confusion flickered across their faces. Kyle approached carefully and disabled their cuffs first, then reached for the collar on the nearest woman. She jerked back, eyes wide with fear. "Please," Kyle said softly. "Trust me. Just for a minute." She hesitated, then nodded. Kyle worked quickly, bypassing the collar's security and hearing the satisfying click as it opened. He repeated the process with the other 2. The moment the collars fell away, the women gasped, as if breathing freely for the first time in months. The tallest one spoke first, her voice hoarse. "Why did you do this?" "Because it was the right thing to do," Kyle replied. "My name's Kyle. You're safe now. What are your names?" They exchanged glances, some unspoken communication passing between them. Finally, the tall one answered. "I am Zara. This is Lyra and Kessa." She gestured to her companions, one with shorter hair and fierce eyes, the other younger and gentler. "Where are you from?" Kyle asked. Zara's expression closed off. "Somewhere far from here. We cannot return." Kyle didn't press. He showed them to the small crew quarters, offered them food and water, and gave them space. Over the next 2 days, they began to relax. Kessa smiled occasionally. Lyra asked questions about human culture. Zara remained watchful but less guarded. Then everything changed. Kyle was in the cockpit running a routine scan when the proximity alarm screamed. A massive warship dropped out of hyperspace directly ahead, filling his view screen with armored hull and weapon arrays. It was unlike anything Kyle had seen, sleek and predatory, covered in markings he didn't recognize. "No, no, no!" Zara's voice came from behind him, raw with panic. Kyle spun around. All 3 women stood in the doorway, faces drained of color. "What is that?" Kyle demanded. "Vrexian Imperial warship," Lyra whispered. "They found us. Who are the Vrexians? Why are they after you?" Zara gripped the doorframe. "We cannot explain now. You must run. Jump to hyperspace immediately." Kyle's hands flew over the controls, plotting an emergency jump. The Wanderer's engines whined as they spooled up. A targeting lock flashed on his console. Warning lights blazed red. "They're charging weapons," Kyle said through gritted teeth. "They will not fire," Kessa said, though she sounded uncertain. "They want us alive." The jump drive engaged, and the Wanderer lurched into hyperspace. Kyle set a random course, bouncing through 3 different vectors before finally stopping in an empty sector. His heart hammered against his ribs. He turned to the women. "Start talking, now! What the hell is going on?" Zara met his eyes, and for the first time, Kyle saw not fear, but something else. Guilt. "We are not ordinary refugees, Kyle Bennett. We are Vrexian nobility." "Nobility?" Kyle's mind raced. "Then why were you in a slave market?" "We were on a diplomatic mission," Lyra explained, her voice tight. "Our transport was ambushed by slavers. We fought, but we were outnumbered. They sedated us, suppressed our abilities with those collars, and sold us before our people could track us. Kyle's blood ran cold. Your people, that warship. Who's looking for you? Silence filled the cockpit. Finally Zara spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. Our mother, Empress Velara of the Vrexian Empire. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Kyle staggered back against the console. The Empress. You're telling me I just rescued the daughters of the most powerful alien ruler in this sector? Yes, Zara said. And she believes you kidnapped us. Kyle's legs nearly gave out. The Vrexian Empire controlled dozens of star systems. Their military could obliterate entire planets. He'd heard stories, rumors of their ruthlessness toward those who crossed them. We tried to signal that we were safe, Kessa added quickly, but our communication implants were damaged during capture. Every scan they perform shows you purchased us. They do not know the truth. So she thinks I'm a slaver, Kyle said flatly. Perfect. Just perfect. 3 more Vrexian ships appeared on long-range sensors, closing in from different vectors. They'd been tracking the Wanderer's jump signature. Kyle calculated the odds and came up empty. He couldn't outrun them. He couldn't fight them. He was trapped. You must leave us, Zara said firmly. Take an escape pod. We will tell them you released us. You can still survive this. Kyle looked at the 3 women who'd begun to trust him, who'd started to smile again after enduring unimaginable horror. He thought about the auction hall, the collars, the fear in their eyes. He thought about running and leaving them to explain his absence. No, Kyle said. You do not understand, Lyra pleaded. Our mother will execute you publicly. She will make an example of you. Please, Kyle, save yourself. I said no. Kyle pulled up the communication array. If I run, I look guilty. If you go back alone, your story sounds like coercion or Stockholm Syndrome. The only way through this is the truth. He opened a direct channel to the lead Vrexian warship. The view screen flickered, and a face appeared that made the daughters gasp. Empress Velara was tall and imposing, her features sharp and regal, her eyes burning with barely contained fury. She looked like Zara, but harder, colder, carved from living stone. Human. Her voice resonated with authority and threat. You have made a grave mistake. Return my daughters immediately, and your death will be swift. Your Majesty, Kyle said, forcing his voice steady. I'm not your enemy. I rescued your daughters from slavers. Rescued? Velara's laugh was bitter. You purchased them. We have the transaction records. Yes, I purchased them. At an illegal auction on Station Erebus. I bought them to free them. Kyle pulled up the files he'd secretly recorded at the auction. Here's the proof. The auction, the slavers, everything. Valera's expression didn't change, but Kyle saw her eyes flick to the data stream. Behind her, advisors murmured in their alien language. Mother. Zara stepped into view of the camera. It is true. This human risked everything to save us. He removed our collars, gave us sanctuary, asked for nothing in return. Lyra and Kessa moved beside their sister. He did not know who we were, Lyra added. He helped us because it was right. Velara's gaze moved between her daughters and Kyle. The silence stretched like a blade against his throat. Finally she spoke, her tone still cold but with a crack in the armor. These slavers. Do you have their identities? Kyle transmitted everything he had. Names, faces, ship registrations, the station's coordinates. I've been tracking these networks for months. This auction was just one operation. The trade spans a dozen systems. Then you have done my empire a service, human, Velara said. My daughters will be returned. You will be compensated for your trouble. Name your price. Kyle looked at Zara, Lyra, and Kessa. He thought about all the others still in chains, still waiting in dark holds for someone to care. I don't want money, Kyle said. I want an alliance. Help me destroy the slave trade. Every station, every network, every slaver in this sector. Humanity doesn't have the power to do it alone, but together we could end this. Velara studied him for a long moment. Then, slowly, Something like respect crossed her features. You surprise me, Kyle Bennett. Most would beg for their lives or demand riches. You ask for justice. I ask for what's right, Kyle replied. The Empress nodded once, decisive. Then you shall have it. The Vrexian Empire will join humanity in this cause. We will hunt these slavers to the edge of known space, and you, Kyle Bennett, will have the gratitude of an empress and the friendship of her daughters. The transmission ended. Kyle exhaled, his hands shaking now that the adrenaline began to fade. Zara placed a hand on his shoulder. You are either very brave or very foolish, she said with a slight smile. Probably both, Kyle admitted. Within hours, the Vrexian fleet escorted the Wanderer to the Imperial flagship. Kyle stood before the Empress in person, and she formally thanked him before her court. The alliance was sealed that day, a pact between humanity and the Vrexian Empire that would reshape the sector. Kyle returned to Earth a hero, but he didn't stop. He worked alongside Zara, Lyra, and Kessa, coordinating strikes against slave markets across 100 worlds. They became friends, then partners, in a greater mission. The trade didn't end overnight, but it broke, fractured under the combined might of two civilizations united by one man's refusal to look away. And in the dark corners where slavers once thrived, a new fear took root. Not of weapons or warships, but of something more powerful. The simple, stubborn insistence that every being deserved freedom, and that some humans would risk everything to make it so.